I grew up in a very musical family. My brothers and sisters all played music, and both my parents. My father was involved in music very heavily himself. My earliest memories of going to sleep upstairs in my bedroom would be listening to him thrashing through some Schubert impromptu and not making it, and cursing and swearing, and around he'd go again. But yeah, I grew up playing piano duets and singing and doing all sorts of stuff with my dad particularly. I met him briefly the summer, I think in the summer of '94. And he was very busy. He was about to win an Oscar, but he didn't know it then, for The Lion King. He'd just done another really great score, which was Crimson Tide, or he was just doing those scores, and he happened to be doing them in London, although he lived over here in Los Angeles. I was introduced to him by a friend, and we got on really well. And I wasn't composing music at that time. I was kind of working for a composer, but Hans freighted his gear over to the studio that I was working in. That just happened to be the case, to do one of these scores, and he was there for a few months, and I never went home. I was just transfixed by the fun he was having with music and the way he was manipulating sounds, from a keyboard, which is not something I'd done, you see, because I was more a pen and paper guy, you know what I mean? And Hans was completely the reverse of that,
his background started in technology.
So I was just fascinated by it, and I was really sad when he left and came, he finished and he came back to Los Angeles. And I got a call from him a little bit later and said, look, you should come over and give it a go. Well, you're asking me at a moment where I'm just starting a movie, so I'm kind of questioning myself as to whether I actually know the answer to that. Kind of worrying. But, well, I usually obviously I start getting to know the film, and sometimes from the script. As is the case with Tony Scott and this movie that I'm starting now. I don't usually get the script, but I was in New York when he was sort of holding up traffic in Times Square, and I got to talk to him a little bit about what we might do. So I just get to know the film. I play the film over and over here, and I usually start at the piano and try and get some themes going, and from that start to find colours, not thematic stuff that I'll have looked after at the piano. I mean, rather than the hi-hat, what can we find that's going to give that? What can we do that we didn't do last time? We'll pull ideas there, and so arming myself with kind of the tools that I'm going to need, and then I'll start to put things together right here with my sequencer, which is Cubase, and then I'll set sail. Perhaps write a couple of the more important moments of the film, see how I get on there, and then when I'm feeling confident, if I'm feeling confident, I'll call Tony Scott and say, you've got to come here and sit on the couch and listen. He's a very positive guy. He will always start with great, 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 and then he'll focus on some moments that he really likes, why he thinks it's really working, and some moments that he thinks perhaps aren't working quite right. So from there, it's quite a collaboration, really.
You worked with Tony several times.
Yes, I think this might be my 8th film with him.
So you find that composers...
It doesn't get easier, no.
It doesn't get easier?
No.
Is there a relationship that's developed after
possibly it gets significantly more difficult, because although we're just between him and me, it's not a worldwide thing, this, and it's not like we're defining something in the industry, but between us we've kind of defined a sound and a way of using music against his pictures, and it's quite narrow, and so each time I set sail, the temptation to go to sort of devices, sounds, colours that I know Tony will like is quite strong. So that's why I started early this time. I'm trying to go around the back door and see if I can enter a different way. Yeah.
Right.
Hi, I'm Costa. I'm Harry's musical technical engineer, and this is Harry's machine room. We have the basic things that he always uses. You have your Cubase computer, you have your Pro Tools, and you have your GigaStudios. Everything ends up in Pro Tools. But what he basically edits, records, when he puts his music together would be in the Cubase computer. Whenever he has a solo instrumentalist or records piano or any kind of audio, he records it into Cubase and edits it there and adds EQ effects and plugins and things like that. So anything analog recording will be recorded with the Alpha Link. So we have a stereo mic and a stereo preamp for the piano, and you have analog coming in to the Alpha Link. Also, any kind of mics or preamps or musicians, even a guitarist with the pedal board will come in analog straight into here. We have patch panels all around the studio, so we can record anybody in the studio, patch in, it'll show up right in the Alpha Link, recording the Cubase. We also use the ADAT inputs because he has a second computer to use live. So he'll put together a lot of drum loops and sounds with live, and that comes in ADAT with the Alpha Link. So analog, ADAT, Alpha Link in, recording Cubase. When he's going out of Cubase to Pro Tools, we have the MADI cards, and then we have a Delta Link, which gives us the 64 buses between Cubase to Pro Tools. Because he has everything together in Cubase, the audio tracks, the VST instruments, the audio, the plugins, we'll make a pass and record, in one pass, we'll record all the Cubase stems into Pro Tools, which is going MADI to MADI, which replaces the 4 192s that we used to have in here. Each GigaStudio is going into a second Pro Tools rig where it's getting the effects, basically some reverbs to make it sound like the orchestra's in the room. Once they get the effects, they go from that Pro Tools rig into the main Pro Tools rig, again with the Delta Link. So we have 64 buses of, actually ADAT, we're going into that ADAT inputs here and then MADI from here. So basically, everything comes into Pro Tools through the Alpha Link and the Delta Links.
Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe was it's such a different film to Prince Caspian. In the first movie, he was concerned a lot with wonder and awe and innocence and discovery, whereas this movie is more concerned with kind of the kids in the first movie. If they realized they had a destiny, in this movie they're fulfilling it. They're actually getting on with it. So it's no more, oh, are we here? Is this really? It's like, we're here. We've got to do something about it.